Thank you. Thank you so much, Jeff and Bomar. What a wonderful, powerful message and song. On the first Sunday of this month, we launched a series entitled The Season of Great Expectations. And we focus on the idea of divine expectancy. And we sort of defined the term as the anticipation of the possibilities, as we've all been anticipating, expecting something profound to enter, to be expressed through our life, world, and affairs. How many of you have been entertaining that idea of great expectations? Good. For those of you who have not, I pray that maybe you're inspired to do so. And we understand the importance of this. Because as we teach here at Unity, we don't always get what we ask for in life. But we will get what we expect, whether consciously, unconsciously, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Last Sunday, it was exciting to hear Kumu Ramsey Tom's message as he continued with this idea through his message, Ho'o Maluhia. Yeah? All right. I worked on it for two verses. Now let me hear you say it. Come on. Ho'o Maluhia. You got it. Once again, come on. Oh, you're almost there. We're almost there together. Making peace is an inside job. And if you did not see his message, I encourage you to go online. Look at it. We post our services online. A powerful message. Today we continue with part 3 for the next several minutes. Part 3 of this idea, the season of great expectations, with the idea of expecting the Prince of Peace. Expecting the Prince of Peace as we are in this season of Advent, which reminds me of the journalist, the CNN journalist, who heard about this young man in Jerusalem who visited the Wailing Wall every day, twice a day. Every day he would go to the Wailing Wall to pray, 2 times a day. She heard about it and she wanted to meet this young man, and she made her way there and she actually watched him do this. For 45 minutes he prayed at the Wailing Wall. And then she watched him return, and for 45 minutes again he was praying at the Wailing Wall, and she decided to approach him. As she did, she introduced herself and she asked him, "Sir, how long have you been coming to the wall to pray?" He says, "I've been coming for 60 years. I've been praying twice a day, every day for 60 years. And the young lady said, 60 years? What do you pray for? And he says, I pray for peace. I pray for peace between the faiths and peace between the Christians and Jews and Muslims. I pray for all the hatred to stop, and I pray for all of our children to grow up in safety and in friendship." He says, "For more than 60 years, I've been praying for this at least twice a day." And she says, "Well, how did you feel after praying for 60 years?" And he says, "I feel like I'm simply praying to the wall." Okay, well, pray. Sometimes praying feels like that. It feels as though we're simply praying to the wall and not seeing the results of our prayer. For many, we might have been praying and affirming, envisioning. We have been holding the high watch. We've been holding the idea of something new, profound, something different. And at times, it feels as though that as far as if the prayer only gets to the wall and it goes no place else. As we consider this 4th Sunday of Advent, the season of great expectation, of anticipating, of preparing for something profound to enter our experience, it's not just what would make this Christmas experience different from all of the other Christmas experiences. How many of you have heard the Christmas story before? At least one time. At least 10 times. We have heard it time and time again, but what makes the story and the experience of Christmas different this year? And as we hold this idea in mind and consider this thought, expecting the Prince of Peace, we're drawn to these words, these prophetic words found in the book of Isaiah chapter 9, in which he says here, it's a messianic prophecy. And as we hear these words, we're just not hearing words from history. And when you approach biblical literature or any sacred text, I pray that you move from history to the mystery. When you can find yourself in it and find it in yourself, then it's alive. These words, the prophet says, for to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulders, and his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, and the increase of his government and peace there will be no end. These familiar words. These words are not simply a prophecy. And for many Bible scholars and theologians, they've attached this idea, the fulfillment of this prophecy has been attached to the presence of the birth of Jesus. But not just a historical experience, friends. It's attached to that perfect image and likeness of the divine. It is perfect and it's within each one of us. And this idea is seeking to be born and to be reborn every day, every day. How many of you wake up every day and say, oh, I am born anew today? We should have an earth day, a birthday every day. Every day that we are alive, we're experiencing new life. And that's what this season, this message today calls us to the awareness of. That it's not a God or the Christ or Jesus outside of us. It is that perfection within us. That's the call today. And as we consider this idea of peace, the Hebrew word for peace is shalom. Let's affirm this 3 times. Shalom. 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 It is a reference that is often used in referring to an appearance of calm and tranquility of individuals, groups, and nations, or nations. The deeper, more foundational meaning of peace is spiritual harmony. But I would like to work with this definition of peace. Peace is the freedom of the mind from annoyance, distraction, anxiety, or obsession. Peace, freedom of the mind. How many of you could use some peace today? Peace, the freedom of the mind from the annoyances of life, from the distractions, from the anxiety, from the obsessions of life. That is true peace. This is the peace that the Prince of Peace, which epitomizes peace, freedom of mind, brings to each of us. This is the baby that's trying to be born in the soul of every man, every woman. As Emily Cady says in her book, that every soul must come to this realization at some point. You know, our Eastern brothers and sisters, they teach that if we don't come to this point in this lifetime, we might have many more lifetimes and just to come to this moment. This point of realization, of awareness, that we are so much more than what we can see in our physicality, with our physical eyes, and what we can sense. There's so much more to us than that. I love what I believe it was Jimi Hendrix he said something, there's somewhere, when the power of love overcomes the love of power. Listen closely, Jimi Hendrix, you know him. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. How profound is that? Yogananda says, finding peace within is a wonderful but also a difficult thing. It is easy to go looking for it in the wrong places. Peace, real peace, holds us steady in the face of chaos. I think I shared with the earlier service 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. I decided to trace the steps of Paul along the Mediterranean. I took a trip to Rome, visited the Vatican, went to southern Italy. We aboarded a ship and decided to travel the Mediterranean, just tracing the steps of Paul. And it was probably it was the last day. I feel that it was about a 10-day cruise, and it was that last day. I just read Paul's, at each dock you want to read what's happening, all of the historical things and biblical things. And we had just landed in Malta. And those of you who have traveled the Mediterranean, you might be familiar with this. And I read the story of Paul in which he visited Malta. And on his way to Malta, it says that he encountered a storm while on the boat. And the storm, the sea got to raging, and the people on deck got so crazy and so full of fear, and they began to throw things overboard and almost threw each other. They started jumping overboard. And Paul decided to go down in the belly of the ship. And when he went down, the belly is Gary Zukov calls it the seat of the soul. When we go to the seat of the soul, go to the core, we'll get what we're looking for. So that he went down to the seat of the soul, the belly of the ship, and he began to have an experience. Well, I didn't read all of Paul's experience, but it was the last day. We were making our way back to where we started, and we were preparing for dinner this night. We're all jazzing up, getting dressed up like Reverend Margie is here, and Zamar, and most of you all are here. We were going to dinner, and all of a sudden the ship started rocking and swaying and tossing, and even in my cabin, being tossed from one side to the other side. Now, this was quite significant for me because I've only cruised twice in my life, and I'm not a swimmer. And you know how all of those scenes from movies and television and Facebook comes to mind, and I began to think about another ship that was out on the waters, and I'm like, I need to cancel that idea. So I got dressed, made my way to the dining hall, moving from one side of the hall to the other side, being tossed here and there, got in the dining hall, trying to sit and enjoy the meal, and plates are moving this way, and glasses and silverware are moving that way, and people are so concerned that we've never experienced this before. Now, this is time to get concerned. When the ship staff says, this is new, we haven't had this kind of experience, I'm like, oh, really? And a few of the people knew that I was a minister. And they began to ask me, Reverend, what do you think? I'm like, I'm not the one that you need to talk to right now. You need to go to the source as I'm about to. I made my way to the cabin. And I began to read in that very moment. I picked up the book to read the rest of Paul's story. And the story says that when Paul got in the belly of that experience, he received a message, an angel, a messenger of the divine to say, Paul, don't worry. Everything's going to be okay. Friends, when I got that truth, have you ever had a word or a revelation, you read something, and all of a sudden peace just swept over your soul as though you knew that it didn't matter how rocky it gets, it's going to be all right. I got myself together, went back up to the dining hall. I took my seat, moving, shifting here and there, but I was ready to eat because I knew everything was going to be all right. That's what the Prince of Peace, when peace is truly born. The master teacher says, my peace I give to you. It's not the peace of the world. You see, we cannot find this peace looking outside of ourselves. You cannot find it looking to things or people, even individuals, family and friends, those who are closest to you. You may not find it there, but when we turn within to the true source, there we will find that ultimate peace, the freedom of the mind. Freedom of the mind. Freedom of the mind from annoyances, anxieties, distractions, and obsessions. You may recall that earlier this month, the great technology giant, Microsoft, produced a commercial. And in that commercial, they were highlighting a song that we sing every Sunday here at Unity Church of Hawaii. In fact, Unity churches all over the world, they've been singing this particular song for years. It's considered our benediction. You know it. Let there be peace on earth. And what? Let it begin with me. It says that it wasn't even 3 days, I think it's 3 days after Microsoft launched this commercial. On YouTube, it had 1.3 million hits. Now, friends, that's significant. For the consciousness of peace, and the world is really seeking for it. So many, probably in here, looking for that state of peace, that experience of peace in the midst of life's, oftentimes, opportunities. And it says that the video, if we can see it, was really Microsoft's overture to their dear old friend, Apple. You know, for years, Apple and Microsoft have been at odds with each other. But Microsoft decided to step into the season, this season of peace, of great expectation, and sent a message to their old friends. I encourage you to watch it at this time.
To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Friends, it's a simple message. Nothing profound about it. Now, if Microsoft, that great technology institution, organization, can birth the Prince of Peace in this world, surely we can do the same in this season. What will make this season, this Christmas, different from any other Christmas? You will make the season different. Your own consciousness, your own heart desire will make it different for you. If you want it to be, desire it to be. But I encourage you to let's join in truly making this world different. Let it be our wish today. Let it be our one wish, the one wish this season. Our wish for the world that peace will find its way to every boy and girl. Fill the air with joyful noise. Ring the bells and raise your voice. But whatever you do, let there be peace on earth, but let it begin with you this season. God bless you.